Hi there, it's Jason, the RV Knot. I saw a post the other day that referenced a video that said that you want to watch out for Starlink. It's not what you think it is, and I couldn't help but respond to it. So I put a big old post on the Van Dwellers, what was it? Where am I? Yeah, Van Living Forum, which used to be Cheap RV Living Forum, but that got bought and now sold and it's something else. So anyway, what I thought I would do is use this post as a guideline for a video about Starlink. So, you know, questions, comments at the end of it, anything you want to say about it, you go right ahead. But recently there's been some misleading videos on what Starlink is, what you will get for what you pay for, what your initial costs are, and just overall some really bad information, mostly from a video from someone who doesn't use Starlink and has not used Starlink. So I thought I would give you my impressions of what's going on from someone that's been using it since last December. And as I do this video, it is June 20th. June 20th. So, you know, this time last year in the summer, Starlink was still in beta. You could apply and pay your $99, but you did not know when you might get equipment, if, you know, at all. I've been planning to have Starlink since I decided to go with living in an RV full time. So beginning of last August, I sent my $99 in and waited. I was told at that time that it would be late last year, fall to winter of 2021 before I would get it. And then somewhere in November, just to describe it, you know, you pay $99, and then when your kit is ready to ship, they will send you an email saying it's ready to ship. If you pay the balance you owe, we will ship it, and you have 3 days to decide that, or to get your $99 back. So you don't lose your deposit if you decide not to get Starlink once it's been said that you can ship it. So I paid my $99 last August, and, you know, thought, okay, great, end of year will be good, because I don't think the house will sell till December, so we'll see, maybe November. They updated their interface software where you could move the dot of where you were to represent exactly where you were. Well, when you did this, it reset your place in line, and I was immediately kicked back to summer of 2022. And that didn't sound good, but you know, that wasn't good. But the house hadn't sold yet. In fact, it was supposed to sell within a couple of weeks, but December 2nd, I think it was. But the financing was declined, and I found that out like November 31st. So like December 3rd, I get a message saying, hey, your Starlink's on the way. And, you know, we're ready to go. Send us the money. So I paid in my for $480 remaining balance. I had to look that up. I couldn't remember what it was that I had paid. So I paid my $99 down, and then I paid the remainder of $480 and some pennies. And 3 days later, I had my kit. I set it up. My house was in the trees. I didn't expect great service, but I got decent service because the leaves were off the trees. So, you know, then the house sells in late January, and I pack all my crap in a U-Haul, and I head west and end up, after buying the RV, down in Quartzsite. When I tried to activate in Quartzsite, I was told that there was no cell available, and then I was told that there was no space in the cell I was in, which made sense. It was late January in Quartzsite. Everybody and their brothers there. Cell service was horrible. So something to understand about Starlink and the way they have set it up is that they have these octagonal cells all over the country, or all over the world, basically mapping out zones of activity. And they did this to make sure that the system didn't get overloaded. I am assuming that once that they get the system up to where they want it, they will get rid of the cell structure altogether. Whew. you hear that? Big old gust of wind just came roaring through. No, wake up, computer. It's going to sleep on me. We can't have that. So where were we? Oh yeah. So there's been restrictions on usage because of the number of satellites that are up. When I got my system in December, there were 1,400 operational satellites. When I finally told them and lied to Starlink and told them I lived in Blythe, I was able to be turned on, and at that point it was like late February, and there were 1,500 satellites. As I talk to you today, in late June, there are just under 2,000 satellites in operation. So while there have been holes in coverage in the past, those holes are slowly being filled in. So wanted to go over that. And you know, how do I know all these numbers? Well, there's and I'll put a link in the description of the video below. There's a place called satellitemap.space, and this will give you an image of the Earth and all of the Starlink satellites that are orbiting it in their path, and you can see everything. So yeah, I don't think it'll be long before this is a non-issue. So back to using the kit. It isn't perfect, as Nomads were in all over the place and in different terrains and locations. And of course, the key to Starlink is a good clear shot of the northern sky. However, you know, you're going to be in places where you can't get that. I was in the Coconino National Forest, and I have a 14-foot PVC pole with me that I can mount the satellite receiver on and get it up on my ladder on the back of the RV here and get some vertical enhancement in order to get a satellite. So I got signal, but it wasn't great and it cut out a lot. But again, I was in a bunch of trees. When I went up north from there to the Kaibab National Forest south of Grand Canyon, I got mostly great signal. If I'd had another 20 feet of cable above the 75 feet I had, I would have been able to clear all the trees. But I get pretty good signal. Now, I will be ordering the 150-foot cable because I do anticipate there will be places where I will need that extra length to get the antenna far enough away from the trees or obstructions. But try to order one. They can't tell you when it's going to ship, so I can't tell them where to ship it. it's you know. Anyway, up until April, if you powered up your Starlink satellite dish outside of your designated cell, it would refuse to work. So as I left Quartzsite for the winter, headed for, you know, cooler climes, I moved my satellite dish to a street on Lake Havasu, and I was there for several weeks, and it worked fine, and I had great exposure to the northern sky, and I saw very little interruptions in service. Then I learned through the grapevine that Starlink had turned off the roaming bit. Now, what that meant was that you could then travel outside your designated zone and it would still work. So I experimented with that, and in fact it did work. I went from Lake Havasu to Bullhead City to Pahrump to Coconino National Forest to Kaibab and it was while I was in Kaibab that they turned on roaming for an additional $25, which meant that I could, quote unquote, legally or with their permission travel anywhere in the continental United States, Canada, United States, Mexico, and it would work. I would, however, be throttled if need be when I was outside my home area. It kind of looks like Starlink didn't really understand what was going to happen with the RV or the Nomad market when this all came to pass. That they didn't consider people would want to do this. So prior to somewhere in April, you could not roam with the system at all, period. Wouldn't happen. Unless you changed addresses, which you could do as long as there was space in the cell you were changing your address to. You could change to there, you'd get full service in that area. Some people are still doing that. They have standard service at, oh, by the way, service went from about this time, also in March, went from $99 to $110 a month. So it went up. And then they added the $25 roaming fee, so now full boat service for me is $135 a month. So yeah, it appears that Starlink didn't really appreciate what they had in their hands in terms of people like myself or you wishing to use it and moving them around a bit. Now, I elected to add on $25 roaming fee. A few weeks ago, I changed my permanent service address to a street in Quartzsite. I don't actually live on that street, but it's the area that I tend to spend most of my time in over the next year. And as a result, that will be my home base. And when I go to Quartzsite in October range, I'll be able to remove the $25 roaming fee. And I won't have to be paying that anymore. And I'll be back down to $110. So that's good. And I'll throw in here that $135 a month, you say, oh, that's a huge amount of money. I only pay $35. Well, okay. And you get all the data you want, it's probably true. It's probably true. And if this is the level, if that's the level of service you need, then don't get Starlink. You don't need it. If you're not ever out of cell phone range, then you don't need it. If you are out of cell phone range and you find yourself looking at a $500 WeBoost unit, maybe consider Starlink, because there's going to be places where if you get out far enough, cell phones won't work, just regardless of the WeBoost, or you'll be down in a valley, etc. So, you know, but let's consider what people pay for and what they get in return and compare them. If you look at usage, I'm a heavy data consumer. I can suck down hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes a month. And I also upload a crap load of gigabytes a month if I'm on schedule with videos, which I'm not. So in the past 2 years leading up to this lifestyle, I noted other heavy users on YouTube carrying 2, 3, and 4 cell phone plans to make sure they have enough data. And these are people that are using a lot of data. They are working for a living. And data is a major portion of what they're doing, and they need it to do their jobs. So they're spending a lot of money on multiple phone plans in order to have enough bandwidth. You know, since getting out on the road, I've also met people that, you know, never use what they're allotted. They're just not heavy data users. And if you're not a heavy data user, you don't need Starlink. It's pretty simple. Yeah, where were we? I hit the arrow key and moved the page too far. Yeah, so we can set a premise. If you are a heavy data user, you will be paying for that data regardless of how you get it. Somebody mentioned in a comment on the thread on the Van Living forum that, you know, they've got a $35, $50 a month plan and they get they get everything they want with that. They don't see a need for high speed. However, I bet that their videos are throttled to 480, and that, you know, if they were a heavy user like I am, that plan wouldn't do enough. That it does enough for them, awesome, good for you. You know, it does what you need. Looking at other alternatives for high-speed data, Nomad Internet is $149 a month plus a $99 upfront fee, and they send you the hardware. Not a bad thing considering they send you the hardware, but we're talking it's $14 a month in Starlink, and it won't work if you're out of cell coverage. And I'm not sure if you can add a WeBoost to a Nomad. You might be able to, and that would be good. Data on any cell phone plan from any of the major carriers is going to cost you money for data. They will all throttle at somewhere between 50 and 70 gigabytes, and then they will slow you down for the rest of your month. I use hundreds of gigabytes, so cell phone plans weren't going to work. Starlink is $100 to $135 a month, plus the $500-600 for the hardware. Yeah, the Nomad is expensive. It doesn't always work in every location, and there's feedback from others that say that it's been throttled on occasion and that it doesn't work. Other people have said they're very happy with it. If you're not going out of cell phone range, maybe Nomad is a good solution for you. But even then, speeds aren't comparable. I did a test the other day. Where are we? So Starlink will throttle outside your home area where it would normally do 150 to 300 megabits per second download. You'll get throttled, in my case, down to somewhere between 40 and 90. Woof. Well, it's faster than what I really need. So the throttling doesn't really bother me much. It might bother me more on the upload than it does on the download. But anyway, the speeds between Starlink and cell services are not comparable. They are if you 5G in the middle of the city, and they are if you're looking at fiber optic systems, but you know, I'm not thinking too many Nomads are going to do fiber optics. I'm currently a bit west of Denver. I did a speed test for this thread, and the first one was 43 down and 2 up. With very high latency. And what this meant was that instead of a satellite being fairly much right over where I am, it was a low trajectory, and the time it takes to get to the satellite and back was impeding the throughput. Again, going back to that, there are 2,000 satellites up there now, and they're throwing up more every other week, it seems. So I expect that kind of issue to go away. And then I did another test a little bit later, and I got 98 megabits per second down and 12 megabits per second up. So it really is dependent on where the satellite is in relation to where you are. Right, so somewhere in there I said that they've put 400 new satellites in service in the last 6 months. And there are hundreds more up there that have been launched that aren't in service yet, and they're launching more. There was a launch on the 17th of this month, and there's going to be 2 launches in July, and I think 1 launch per month thereafter. So, yes, Starlink is throttling your throughput when you are not in your home area. Seems simple enough. You accept that as a condition of having left your home area and signed up for roaming. My assumption is that they will turn the roaming bit back on fairly soon, and if you aren't paying the $25 a month, you will not be able to roam outside your area. But yeah, the throttling isn't the boogeyman it's being made out to be. Enter the RV plan. And this is where it got a little sticky for the person that didn't understand Starlink and was they were being pretty brutal in saying that Starlink sucked. And their beef was that, okay, I'm going to sign up for the RV plan, which is $135 a month, and it's always roaming. So you are always going to be throttled. However, what this person didn't understand is that in any situation where you're roaming, you will be throttled. So there aren't people out there getting service on the move that aren't being throttled. All of us are. When I go back to Quartzsite, and that's my home base, then I will no longer be throttled because that is my home area. To say that RV users are getting screwed if they use the RV plan, it just isn't true. They're being treated like every other user. They're not being signaled out. The RV plan assumes you're on the move in your RV, so you will be jumping from cell to cell. So, so the idea that throttling is unfair is just complete bullcrap. So, 2 years ago I started this plan, and one of the issues I had was data. And when Starlink was announced, it was like, wow, this could really solve the problem. And then when I got the Starlink last winter, it was like, wow, this is awesome. I am off to the races with being able to be mobile and have good data. So no one offers a service that can come anywhere close to what Starlink is offering. And again, if you're a heavy data user, if you're not, then why even bother? You know, I'm a gamer, a YouTuber, a musician. I watch tons of videos and suck up all kinds of bandwidth. Bulletin boards, this, that, you know, all of it. You know, if you suck up a lot of data, Starlink's a good option. If not, don't bother. Power usage. When I first got the Starlink, and I have the newer square dish as opposed to the older round dish, it was using about 110 watts at startup and then would settle down around 70. Since then, they've done a couple of upgrades to it, and it idles around 30 to 50 and still starts up about 70 to 90. But the usage has dropped considerably. Also consider that the farther away a satellite is, the more power the unit's going to take to go and get that signal. Part of the problem with the kit that I found is that the newer kits are coming without a way to plug in an Ethernet cable. So for $39, you buy an adapter that allows you to plug in an Ethernet cable. They have also since made it so that you can turn off the router in the Wi-Fi, in the unit that you get from Starlink. I think you can see it. Yeah, it's right here. This is the unit that you get with Starlink. It's a square thing with a little stand, cables going in and out. Where are we? Okay, the power usage has really gotten better. The connection can be an issue if you almost can't turn off their wireless. I don't quite understand that, but maybe by bypassing their router, you can turn off the wireless. I haven't dug into it. So the connections are iffy. You're going to need probably that external doohickey to plug your Ethernet in if you need to plug in. Customer service with Starlink is not good. The only way you can contact customer service is through the app once you have an account. And it will be 2 to 4 days before someone gets back to you, and it's highly likely the answer you get isn't one you're going to like. Basically, I wanted to order the 150-foot cable, but I needed to know if they had it in stock so I could tell them where to ship it, because as a nomad, I'm not in any one place for very long. They are unable to tell me when they would ship or if they have stock, so I can't order it. It's rather silly, but there it is. And I've said that that's not acceptable and sent it back, and they've just ignored it. The data service is as good or better than I anticipated. I knew that the satellite network was not completely full, and I knew that it would be getting better as time went by. But because I know and understand the basics of the system they're doing, I used to do wireless internet and an internet service provider. I understand how these systems work. You know, I knew the service would be spotty, but I knew it also would be getting better. I'm not unhappy with Starlink because I have realistic expectations. So, yeah, I got a little image here that shows my service, you know. I get little dropouts on occasion, and that just is what it is. Again, somebody in the thread said, thanks for the write-up. I'm glad it's an option. I still don't agree with the RV plan costing more. And again, it was they didn't understand that if you want to roam, it's going to cost you more. So there is no difference between someone with a standard account that's roaming than the RV account with roaming built in. There is no discrimination. There is no difference. Anybody roaming is going to get their throughput throttled, including myself or anybody else that elects to go outside their home cell. It is that simple, and there is no controversy, and you aren't getting screwed. Just that other person, YouTuber, just has no clue what they're talking about, and it just drove me nuts to see them misleading people like that. Yeah, so that's about it. Starlink is a good option for you if you need heavy data and you can afford the $135 a month. it, you know, if you're getting by on a lesser plan and it serves your need, then great.